Yes, opening a breaker or a disconnect is considered live work and requires personal protective equipment, or PPE. Even if the breaker or disconnect is turned off, there is still the potential for electrical hazards. These hazards include firstly, induced voltage from adjacent circuits. Secondly, capacitance discharge from equipment. Thirdly, arcing or sparks during opening or closing. Fourthly, accidental re-energization. Electricians performing this task must wear appropriate personal protective equipment, including firstly, insulated gloves. Secondly, safety glasses. Thirdly, arc-rated clothing. Fourthly, a hard hat if overhead work is involved. Untrained workers should not be allowed to open breakers or disconnects. However, if this is unavoidable, the following safety procedures must be followed. Firstly, only qualified electricians should train untrained workers. Secondly, untrained workers must be supervised by a qualified electrician at all times. Thirdly, untrained workers must wear appropriate personal protective equipment as directed by the qualified electrician. Fourthly, the qualified electrician must verify that the circuit is de-energized before the untrained worker opens the breaker or disconnect. Fifthly, the untrained worker must clearly label the disconnected equipment as "Do not energize." Opening the main to a panel board without proper training and personal protective equipment poses several hazards, including electrical shock. The main breaker carries the full current to the panel board. Contact with live parts can result in severe burns or electrocution. Arc flash is another hazard. Opening the main breaker can create an arc flash, which can cause burns, eye damage, and hearing loss. Additionally, electrical fire is a hazard. An arc flash can ignite combustible materials and start a fire. The following safety procedure should be followed when opening the main to a panel board. Firstly, only qualified electricians should perform this task. Secondly, the electrician should wear appropriate personal protective equipment, including arc-rated clothing. Thirdly, the electrician should verify that all loads are disconnected. Fourthly, the electrician should clearly label the disconnected panel board as "Do not energize." Understanding the potential hazards associated with opening breakers and disconnects is crucial for ensuring electrical safety. These hazards stem from the fact that even when a breaker or disconnect is in the off position, the potential for electrical dangers remains. Induced voltage, for instance, can occur when a circuit is located near other energized circuits. The electromagnetic field from these adjacent circuits can induce a voltage in the supposedly de-energized circuit. This induced voltage, although potentially lower than the normal operating voltage, can still pose a risk of shock or arc flash, especially if the circuit is not properly grounded. Capacitance discharge is another potential hazard. Electrical equipment, such as capacitors, can store electrical energy even after the power is turned off. This stored energy can discharge unexpectedly, causing a shock or arc flash. Arcing or sparks can occur during the opening or closing of a breaker or disconnect due to the rapid separation or connection of electrical contacts. This arcing can ignite flammable materials or cause burns. Accidental re-energization is a risk in situations where the breaker or disconnect is inadvertently turned back on while someone is working on the circuit. This can happen due to human error, faulty equipment, or a misunderstanding of the circuit configuration. To mitigate these risks, it is essential to follow proper safety procedures and use appropriate personal protective equipment. Personal protective equipment is designed to protect workers from electrical hazards. Insulated gloves are designed to protect the hands from electrical shock. They are made of rubber or other insulating materials and are rated for specific voltage levels. Safety glasses are designed to protect the eyes from flying debris and arc flash. Arc-rated clothing is designed to protect the body from the intense heat of an arc flash. It is made of flame-resistant materials that can withstand high temperatures. A hard hat is designed to protect the head from falling objects. It is important to choose personal protective equipment that is appropriate for the specific task and voltage level. In addition to personal protective equipment, it is important to follow safe work practices. These practices include firstly, de-energizing the circuit before working on it. This involves turning off the breaker or disconnect and verifying that the circuit is de-energized using a voltage tester. Secondly, using lockout/tagout procedures. This involves placing a lock and tag on the breaker or disconnect to prevent it from being accidentally turned back on. Thirdly, using insulated tools. This helps to prevent electrical shock if you accidentally come into contact with a live wire. Fourthly, maintaining a safe working distance. This helps to reduce the risk of arc flash. It is important to be aware of the potential hazards associated with opening breakers and disconnects and to follow proper safety procedures. Untrained workers should never be allowed to work on electrical equipment without supervision. Qualified electricians should always be consulted when working on electrical systems. When untrained workers must operate breakers or disconnects, strict adherence to safety protocols is paramount. The supervision of a qualified electrician is non-negotiable. This electrician is responsible for assessing the situation, identifying potential hazards, and providing clear instructions to the untrained worker. The qualified electrician must also ensure that the untrained worker is wearing the appropriate personal protective equipment for the task. Before the untrained worker opens the breaker or disconnect, the qualified electrician must verify that the circuit is de-energized. This can be done using a voltage tester to confirm that no voltage is present on the circuit. Once the circuit is confirmed to be de-energized, the untrained worker can open the breaker or disconnect under the direct supervision of the qualified electrician. After the breaker or disconnect has been opened, the untrained worker must clearly label the disconnected equipment as "Do not energize." This label serves as a visual reminder to prevent accidental re-energization of the circuit. The hazards associated with opening the main breaker to a panel board without proper training and personal protective equipment are particularly severe. The main breaker carries the full current to the panel board, making it a high-risk component. Contact with live paths can result in severe burns or electrocution. Arc flash is also a significant hazard. The intense heat and energy released during an arc flash can cause severe burns, eye damage, and hearing loss. Electrical fire is another potential consequence. The arc flash can ignite combustible materials in the vicinity, leading to a fire. To mitigate these risks, only qualified electricians should perform the task of opening the main breaker to a panel board. The electrician should wear appropriate personal protective equipment, including arc-rated clothing, insulated gloves, and safety glasses. Before opening the breaker, the electrician should verify that all loads are disconnected. This reduces the current flowing through the breaker, minimizing the risk of arc flash. The electrician should also clearly label the disconnected panel board as "Do not energize" to prevent accidental re-energization. The importance of proper training cannot be overstated. Electrical work should only be performed by qualified individuals who have received comprehensive training in electrical safety. This training should cover topics such as electrical hazards, personal protective equipment, safe work practices, and lockout/tagout procedures. Regular refresher training is also essential to ensure that electricians stay up to date on the latest safety standards and procedures. In summary, opening breakers and disconnects is considered live work and requires proper personal protective equipment and adherence to safety procedures. Untrained workers should never be allowed to work on electrical equipment without supervision. Qualified electricians should always be consulted when working on electrical systems. By following these guidelines, we can help to prevent electrical accidents and ensure the safety of workers. It is imperative to address the specific scenario of opening the main breaker to a 175 ampere lighting and appliance panel board to turn off lights and equipment at night. This practice is inherently risky and should be discouraged. The potential for electrical shock, arc flash, and electrical fire is significantly elevated when working with the main breaker. A more appropriate and safer approach would be to install a timer or other control system that automatically turns off the lights and equipment at a predetermined time. This eliminates the need for workers to manually open the main breaker, reducing the risk of electrical accidents. If manual operation of the main breaker is unavoidable, it should only be performed by qualified electricians who are properly trained and equipped with the necessary personal protective equipment. The electrician should follow the safety procedures outlined above, including verifying that all loads are disconnected and clearly labeling the disconnected panel board. Furthermore, a thorough risk assessment should be conducted to identify any potential hazards and implement appropriate control measures. This assessment should consider factors such as the age and condition of the electrical equipment, the presence of flammable materials, and the qualifications of the personnel involved. The results of the risk assessment should be documented and used to develop a safe work procedure. It is also important to consider the legal and regulatory requirements related to electrical safety. Many jurisdictions have regulations that require employers to provide a safe working environment for their employees. These regulations may specify the types of personal protective equipment that must be worn, the training that must be provided, and the procedures that must be followed. Employers should be familiar with the applicable regulations and ensure that they are in compliance. In addition to the technical aspects of electrical safety, it is also important to foster a culture of safety within the workplace. This involves promoting safety awareness, encouraging workers to report hazards, and providing them with the resources and support they need to work safely. Management should demonstrate a commitment to safety by providing adequate training, equipment, and resources. Workers should be empowered to stop work if they feel that it is unsafe. By creating a culture of safety, we can help to prevent electrical accidents and ensure the well-being of workers. Electrical safety is a shared responsibility. Employers, employees, and qualified electricians all have a role to play in preventing electrical accidents. By working together, we can create a safer working environment for everyone. In conclusion, opening breakers and disconnects is considered live work and requires proper personal protective equipment and adherence to safety procedures. A trained worker should never be allowed to work on electrical equipment without supervision. Qualified electricians should always be consulted when working on electrical systems. The specific practice of opening the main breaker to a panel board to turn off lights and equipment should be discouraged and replaced with a safer alternative such as a timer or control system. If manual operation of the main breaker is unavoidable, it should only be performed by qualified electricians who are properly trained and equipped. By following these guidelines, we can help to prevent electrical accidents and ensure the safety of workers. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides comprehensive guidelines for electrical safety. It is essential to consult the NEC for specific requirements related to electrical installations and equipment. Some relevant NEC articles include firstly, Article 110.16, which addresses arc flash hazard warnings. Secondly, Article 230.70, which covers disconnecting means for service entrances. Thirdly, Article 240.21, which provides requirements for overcurrent protection. Fourthly, Article 408, which covers panel boards. These articles provide detailed information on how to safely install and operate electrical equipment. It is important to note that the NEC is a minimum standard. In some cases, it may be necessary to exceed the requirements of the NEC to ensure adequate safety. A qualified electrician can help to determine the appropriate safety measures for a specific situation. Regular inspections and maintenance are also crucial for maintaining electrical safety. Electrical equipment should be inspected regularly for signs of damage or wear. Any damaged equipment should be repaired or replaced promptly. Maintenance should be performed by qualified personnel in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. Proper grounding is essential for preventing electrical shock. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping a breaker or fuse and to energizing the circuit. All electrical equipment should be properly grounded in accordance with the NEC. Grounding electrodes, grounding conductors, and bonding jumpers should be properly sized and installed. The grounding system should be regularly inspected and tested to ensure its effectiveness. Surge protection is another important safety measure. Surges are transient overvoltages that can damage electrical equipment. Surge protective devices, or SPDs, are designed to protect equipment from surges. SPD should be installed at the service entrance and at downstream locations. SPD should be properly sized and installed in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. Electrical safety is an ongoing process. It requires a commitment to safety from all stakeholders, including employers, employees, and qualified electricians. By following proper safety procedures, using appropriate personal protective equipment, and maintaining electrical equipment, we can help to prevent electrical accidents and ensure the safety of workers.